part 2. I'll be following on from our last discussion on the roots of ancient occult systems. This time we look at the modern evolution of occult sciences and the faces that have shaped the information that we now have as we shift into a new age of thought and awareness. So enjoy.
I'd like to start with Eliphas Levi, because Levi was one of the first of the designers of modern occult artistry. He survived through most of the 1800s and died the same year another occult giant came into this realm, Aleister Crowley, but we'll talk about Crowley a little later. Levi wrote a number of books that are now popular among the larger occult community and even those outside of it. Levi is most popular for his correlations of the major arcana of the tarot and the 22 paths of the Kabbalistic tree. A facet of occult theology that is still being worked on for its deep secrets, and many other famous occult minds continue to work on this, including Crowley. And our next face, S.L. McGregor Mathers. Now, Mathers had a huge role in the development of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, including much of the rituals that became part of the initiatory rites. The Golden Dawn was meant to be a secret order of educated people who believed in the need to protect the centuries of secret occult teachings and further its development. The Golden Dawn saw many famous people such as Israel Regardie, Aleister Crowley and Arthur Edward Waite, who designed the most famous deck of tarot, I believe, the Rider-Waite deck. Mathers is a key figure in the occult world and contributed to translations of many grimoires, including the Key of Solomon and the Grimoire of Armadale. That's just to name a few. But his role in the Golden Dawn became the first of a continuous line of power seeking to overdo individuals and set to dominate and lead in their own autocratic style. Our next face is Madame Blavatsky, and Madame Blavatsky was also an important figure, and her work as a highly developed psychic became the forerunner to the modern spiritualist church. Blavatsky was a medium, as well as spending a large part of her life and teachings devoted to the human development of the psychic mind by starting the Theosophy Society. She's best known for her works as Isis Unveiled and The Secret Doctrine. This next young face is Israel Regardie, and Regardie was a brilliant young scholar who had a mind well suited for the occult theologies. His work mainly consisted of Kabbalistic magic and interpretation. It was actually Regardie who brought out the Jewish system of mysticism and the rituals of the Golden Dawn into the light from the temples to the west. Regardie's teachings also influenced other men and women of the occult, such as Gerald Gardner, who is one of the originators of the modern Wiccan path. Regardie was introduced to Gerald Gardner by one Aleister Crowley, and Regardie is one of the most foremost authorities on Western magic for the time, and was also assisting secretary of our next and most infamous face, Aleister Crowley. Well, what can one say about a man such as Aleister Crowley? He was a man who was born to know thyself and embody that for all of us, and yet in the end I believed that he failed this foremost foundation of magic, regardless of your beliefs about him. Aleister Crowley believed that he was the reincarnation of a number of popular historical occultists, including Eliphas Levi and Dr. John Dee, as I mentioned earlier. Crowley smashed the door open on all the built-up ideals of darkness that had been suppressed for the last 900 years, and I discussed this idea in our modern culture in part 1. He superimposed God personalities over his own and aggrandized himself as the Beast 666, and yet his understanding of occult science and mysticism was so immense it goes far beyond what many today could even hope to achieve. Crowley came into contact with the being Aiwass at a point in his life, and this being gave him a number of lessons and visions which came to be his most famous work, which is the Liber al-Valiges, or the Book of the Law. This work was far too complex even for Crowley himself to fully understand, and refers to the coming age of Horus, which sees the balance in male and female polarity I believe that the Book of the Law and the Age of Horus are yet to come and may still be a way off yet, as its depth and message is really for another age.
Well, there you have it. There's more that could be said about Aleister Crowley, but we'll discuss that at a later time, and we'll also expand on some of the ideas that have been expressed in parts 1 and 2. Obviously we have to keep them short for YouTube, so we're just touched at the top. I must say, however, that if you plan to read Aleister Crowley, be sure to guard your mind. His works are incredibly intense and they're not something to be read on a whim. Also, be sure to expand your studies. Read as much or as little as you want. But the most important thing for a person on the path of magic is that your understanding be seeded in action. Get out and live a life. Don't be bogged down by everyone else's interpretations of things and of the world. Make your own interpretations and continue to test them. Test them against yourself. And as you search, you'll begin to peel back the layers of perception and you'll find truth upon truth. One day, then you'll be ready to pass on that truth to others. All the best. See you part 3.